What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday we did have a pretty major tragedy take place as Etica was actually found by the NYPD. They put out on Twitter that he had actually been found dead, and after being missing for so many days, they were looking for him and they did find him. And it looks like this was all after a fairly large battle with mental illness that a lot of us watched happen pretty much on Twitter. And it's such a sad situation, and I was trying to figure out how we would go about really, I guess, talking about this a bit on Newswave. Originally, I was just going to demonetize the video, but then there were messages that came out. Keemstar, I believe, posted them about his mom actually saying, hey, we're not going to do anything with a GoFundMe so far with a funeral, which was originally, I guess, a link we were just going to put out there and help signal boost. Instead, she was asking that people just donate to like any type of charity based around mental illness and awareness, and that's what actually we're going to do. The revenue from this video, we're just gonna go ahead and donate, and then some extra on top to make sure it's like a nice round number. And I'll go ahead and leave a link down below to the charity that we'll actually be doing here, and you can also donate if you would like to. Now, Sean and I did meet Etica, Long Island Retro, last year, and he was super cool about everything. He was really polite, really nice, super encouraging, by the way, which was a bit surprising since obviously he's a very big YouTuber and everything. I mean, like literally, he was like 6'6". So he is a pretty big YouTuber, but he was really interested in the channel that Sean and I, the different channels we were running, and talking to us about it and everything. And like I said, had nothing but words of encouragement for myself about this channel. So it really stuck with me. He seemed very interested in the people around him and just being super positive. So we'll definitely miss him. And, well, what else can we say other than Joy-Con boys forever? And with that, we'll move on to the news that took place yesterday in gaming, and we're going to start with Pokemon Masters. If you remember this was a cell phone game that was revealed during that Pokemon event where we found out about Pokemon Sleep and Home and all this other stuff. They talked about this new project from DNA, and it looked different, looked interesting, but it looks like they're going to have basically a full direct for us to check this game out. And that's actually tomorrow, the 27th, and there are several different time slots, depending on your time zone and everything, but 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, and at that point, I guess they'll just kind of hang out and tell us more about Pokemon Masters. We saw a little bit about it, and this is apparently going to be a broadcast that lasts 8 minutes sharing the latest news about the mobile game. So I guess we'll just find out more then. And it's interesting to see this one as it seems a bit more action-y than something like Pokemon Go, obviously. So I'll be keeping an eye on it. I'm not the biggest fan of, like I said, mobile games, but I do know they make a lot of money, so I get why companies are putting resources towards it. Oh, and do you remember how we talked previously about Jedi Fallen Order, where we kind of figured out why they were having these Metroid references that they were talking about, which would be like an open world, and then you find things that let you into other parts of the world, and it has like a hub world and everything. All of this was referenced by people at E3, but we only saw like a linear part of a level. Well, they actually released the extended trailer that you could see some of here, and then of course down in the sources you can watch it. It's fairly long compared to what we saw at E3, but it does show some non-linear gameplay where you're walking onto the ship and everything, and you're kind of talking to your crew, and it showed a really big set piece where you're actually swimming up to AT-ATs that are kind of walking through the water, and it looked awesome. It was like this really large kind of grand scale that they were showing with this, and I like that. Like, that was really cool, and it's giving me a bit more hope for this game, and I'm certainly becoming more and more interested in it the more I see about it. So, hey, looking forward to hopefully a bit more than just linear levels with what they showed. Also, for those who keep asking me, when is Terraria coming out on the Switch? We have a release date. It's tomorrow, the 27th. You can actually pick up Terraria digitally on the eShop. Now, they did post this on their forums. Then they said that if you want a physical copy, it is coming. It's just going to be later. It's just later. It's going to take longer. Essentially, it's ready, and they didn't want to have to wait to make sure the physical copy was ready to go to then release it. It's done. They want to put it out there, and they're putting it out there tomorrow. So for everyone who was wondering, when is Terraria coming out? You kept asking me over and over again. It's tomorrow. You can go pick it up, and then you'll just have to wait till later on this year to get it physically. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. I guess let's talk about the Commodore 64 for whatever reason. Look, we've talked about the mini console craze, right? We just talked about a TurboGrafx that's apparently coming out, a mini turbo graphics. We've talked about, of course, the Sega Mini, the Nintendo Mini, the PlayStation Mini, the Super Nintendo. Well, how about a Commodore 64, but not necessarily a mini. This is supposed to be a full-size system. They put out a trailer. It's going to come with tons of games, apparently. We'll roll through HDMI. They showed a keyboard. It's going to have 64 pre-installed games, which include things like California Games, Paradroid, Boulder Dash. It is definitely something for retro nostalgia fans, or fans with the kind of this retro nostalgia for a Commodore 64. It's gonna be developed by Retro Games, and it's gonna be distributed by Koch Media. I believe that's how you say it, Koch Media. Not 100% sure on why this one is going to exist, but it will. It's gonna be coming out December 5th of this year, so just in time for the holidays, just in case you want to buy a Commodore 64, wrap it up, and put it under the tree. I am very interested in this just to see how it's all put together, how it works and everything, and I'd be curious to see how many people see this now and go, well, I gotta get the Commodore 64. I'm curious how many people remember it to the point where they want to go out and buy this. It's going to be interesting, I think, to see it, but hey, it's pretty obvious that these plug-and-play systems sell well, right? I mean, the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo Classic really set the bar. The PlayStation Classic really didn't. But this is something that's been going on for a while. I mean, Sega's had several with AT Games or at Games. So I guess at this point, just because of the success of the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, and let's be real, the Sega Mini, I think is going to be a success based on word of mouth right now and the library of games that are being shown. So sure, why not? Everyone just jump in. Let's just have all kinds of plug-and-play systems. We're doing the turbo graphics. We're doing a full-sized Commodore 64 with a keyboard and everything. Weird times, but you know what? Kind of exciting times too. Next up, let's talk about Bloodstained Ritual of the Night on the Nintendo Switch. I made a video about this yesterday. If you missed it, just check out the channel. It was a video I posted talking about the port job to the Switch. I don't think it's very good. I think they could do a lot better on the system, and I do question if it was kind of a rush job, if they had to get it out there because there was pressure from the backers, because I believe this was originally supposed to be on the Wii U, and then they moved it to the Switch, and I just feel like they didn't want to wait too long to put it out there, and unfortunately, it's not the best version of the game, and I don't think it's representative of what the Switch can do, so it looks like they recognize that, they've heard the feedback, and they posted this on their Kickstarter page, and they also kind of posted a summary on Twitter, and this says, "We have been listening to the feedback regarding Switch performance. Our goal is for everyone, regardless of platform, to be able to enjoy the game and have it run smoothly. We want to live up to your and our expectations. Throughout the QA process, we have been addressing performance issues in the game. Update 1.01 was published to Switch prior to launch to add content and improve performance. It did not accomplish as much as we had hoped, and we need to do more. To address the concerns brought up by the community, we are immediately shifting resources to improve performance and stability for the Switch. You can expect a number of small updates that will improve different areas of the game rather than waiting longer for one big update. We'll have more details as soon as we dive into the work. We thank you for your patience and apologize for the inconvenience." That's from Jason Ryan, who's the senior community manager at 505 Games. And this is exactly what they have to do. You have to have good communication with people who are playing your game, who had just spent $40 on it, and maybe they got home with it and they weren't too happy with it, because let's face it, it's not the greatest port. It doesn't look very good. It definitely doesn't run very well. It's already half the frame rate and then also a much lower resolution with aliasing all over the place. So I like that they are working on it. I also like that it's going to be small updates. It's not going to be us waiting months, it seems. It's going to be maybe weeks at this point for the first update, and maybe that update fixes up some issues here and there for frame rate in the castle. Maybe there's one that fixes it up in like the sewers, and then maybe we get one that fixes some of the resolution. Maybe it ups it a little bit. I don't know if they'll get the 60 frames per second. I feel like they probably won't, but there are some instances in the game that I've even run into past that video I did that have frame rate dipping into the teens, it feels like. And the biggest thing I think they need to fix by far is the input latency. There is a significant difference, it feels like. Like, you can feel it when you're playing in docked mode with something like a Pro Controller or the Joy-Con controllers wirelessly. It feels like your character just isn't responding as well as the other versions. That includes PC, Xbox, and PS4. before. So I'm glad they're addressing it, definitely, and I'm glad they're communicating with us, but they definitely need to fix it at this point, and I feel like they will, just because this isn't like a big, company corporation like, hey, 2K with WWE 2K18, that runs super smooth now, right? No, this is a smaller, essentially indie developer, I would say, that I think wants to make this right. And let's be real, if this game was a good port within reason, I think it would sell the best on the Switch, most likely, just based on its track record with these type of games. So we'll see what they come up with. Next up, let's talk about the Steam Summer Sale, because it starts now. Well, technically it started yesterday, but it's going on now, and it's going on through July 9th. And this is the time of year when we all come together and we just buy games we're probably not going to play. I mean, let's face it, there are some games on Steam that are like $1. You might go, I might play that someday. And then like 2 years later, you look at it and you realize you haven't even downloaded it yet or installed it. This is a backlog builder for your Steam library, but we love it and we fall for it every single year. So why not? Now, several publications have put out a very large list of games because there are a lot of games on sale. I think there's like 1,000 or something. There's a lot of games on sale right now, so it is quite a bit to go through, but several places have made these lists. I left a link down below. You can check out one that was actually put together fairly well, and you'll see some of it here from GameSpot, and they list a bunch of them, and I saw a few that looked pretty good, I think, overall. Now, you have games like Prey for $15 that, okay, that's just okay, but then you also have things like Bloodstained Curse of the Moon for $6, which is pretty good. Yakuza 0 for $10. That's actually really good. Even Sekiro, while it's fairly new at $48, I've never been into those type of deals where it's seriously like still almost $50 in a Steam summer sale or a Steam sale in general, but there are some good deals to have in there. Even Assassin's Creed Odyssey is half off at $30 on the PC. And get this, ladies and gentlemen, a Left 4 Dead bundle for just over $2. That's the one to get right there. If you haven't played Left 4 Dead, go pick that one up for just over $2. But a ton of stuff to go through. Check out some of the lists and all the games, and hey, add to that Steam backlog that, well, you just got to keep filling up. And our last bit of news, let's talk about GameStop, Super Mario Maker 2, and the deal that they did for Days Gone, which they're now doing for Super Mario Maker 2, which, by the way, I think is one of the safest deals they could do. Because essentially, here's how it's gonna work. If you buy Super Mario Maker 2, from release day, you have 48 hours to then return it for the full amount that you paid in store credit, so you can pick out a different game. Now, if you remember, they tried this recently, of course, with Days Gone, and I guess it worked out all right. That's the risky one to do it with, because that didn't get the best reviews. There was a lot of controversy around it. People weren't 100% sure if it was worth the money and everything. So that's the one I would expect them to get the returns on. But most people who buy Mario Maker 2 are probably already sold on it. Like, they've made up their mind. They're going to keep it. So this, I think, is just GameStop basically doing a nice little softball lob there. Just lobbing up an easy one there, right? Saying, hey, if you guys don't like Super Mario Maker 2, the sequel to the game you probably really liked, you can bring it back and get something else. Of course, they can also take that copy you bring back, and they'll probably put it on the used shelf immediately and then get a trade-in or just resell it anyway. So this is an easy one. It's good to know, though, just in case you, for whatever reason, get Mario Maker 2 and you're thinking you might not like it. I'm not sure. It seems like an easy one to me. Like, I think I'm gonna look at that and yeah, I'm picking it up Friday and I'm gonna keep it. But hey, just in case, GameStop's got you covered. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here from Retro Alley, saying new Game Boy releases, yes, and then also Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger remakes, please. So I say Chrono Trigger. I see a lot of people say Final Fantasy VI, and I would actually like to see Final Fantasy VI, or of course it was Final Fantasy III in the West, as a lot of us know it, or had played it on the Super Nintendo, or rented it like I did like 4 times over several weekends to try to get that thing done. I could actually see that happen, but the thing about this is I think only one game is really viable for them to do a full remake like a Final Fantasy VII, which is kind of what I want to see out of Chrono Trigger, see them do something like that. I think Final Fantasy VI would actually work fairly well with a remaster remake kind of thing where they use the Octopath engine that they have, the HD 2D engine, and just kind of bring it up and modernize it and make it look really cool there. I think that'd be a great way to do Final Fantasy VI and then possibly a Chrono Trigger in the Final Fantasy VII style for a remake that they're doing. when they're ready. When Final Fantasy VII Remake is done and the PlayStation 6 is out, we can get on the Chrono Trigger. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is GameStop's interesting deal. Do you think they're gonna do this for more games coming up? Like, do you think we'll see this for other Switch releases? Because it's fairly stacked coming up for these different games. I've also noticed they've done it for 2 first-party games, one for Sony and one for Nintendo. So I'm gonna be curious if they pull the trigger on something like a Borderlands 3, for example, a third-party game. Interesting stuff there. Also, what about this Commodore 64? Do you like the idea of a full-sized system for a plug and play, or do you still just like the mini consoles? A full-size one is actually kind of interesting now I think about it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.